I picked up an abandoned little girl, took advantage of her blindness, teased her day and night, took every advantage until that girl's true identity was revealed. It turned out that she was a powerful and famous lady in the capital. The fiancé is also a top male god. I was so scared that I quickly packed my luggage and fled abroad that night. 7 years later, by chance reunion, I pretended not to know the hot-looking woman, slowly took off her tie and wrapped it around my eyes. The tone is gentle, but no resistance is allowed, my love. It's so naughty, 7 years or 7 times. If you miss one, don't expect to leave. I didn't expect to meet Lu Nuyen again in this situation. She was surrounded by halos, the center of all attention, wearing a tight red dress and being admired by the business world like a bright star, receiving interviews from journalists. Elegant speech, calm gestures, noble golden eyes, slightly lowered, revealing the overwhelming aura of someone standing on high. Majestic, so beautiful that no one can compare. As for me, I was standing in the audience, less than 2 meters away from her, holding the microphone, surrounded by a stream of bamboo-wrapped people. But Ko Nuoi, why are you wearing a baseball cap in the house? Afraid of seeing your ex-lover again, your close brother, Tong, Can teased me. I quickly raised my hand to signal silence. In fact, in this noisy space, Tong Can's voice does not stand out very much. Like Lu Nuyen, who once spent a long time alone in the dark, has a hearing many times sharper than normal people. Therefore, in the past I really liked to lean close to her ear and whisper teasing words, looking at the red color from Lan's ear to her collarbone, enjoying her trembling and shy appearance. But because I couldn't see it, I couldn't escape the girl's sweet voice mixed with a bit of hoarseness, her uncertain eyes carrying a bit of confusion. Just one sentence is enough to make people itch inside. Don't be like that. I gently rubbed her pale pink lips, little by little pressing myself against the corner of the wall. Looking at her, she clearly wanted to push me away but couldn't find the exact position. Her hands accidentally touched places that shouldn't be touched, like a frightened little rabbit. Seeing that I seemed to be bullying people too much, I bowed my head to gently coax her and called out, "Darling, go. I'll forgive you." Looking back now, I wish I could go back in time and punch myself twice for being confused by beauty. This time you do charity work for people with disabilities. Is it related to the time when you lost your sight in the past? During that time, did you ever experience discrimination or bullying? Another reporter used his elbow to poke the person asking the question, teasing in a low voice. With Mr. Lu's tactics and personality, who would dare to bully her? On stage, Lu Nuyen replied coldly. Her voice was low, her emotions unclear. I was bullied very miserably. The reporter was surprised as if she had discovered shocking news and quickly asked, "So 7 years have passed, can you let go now? If you meet the person who bullied you again, what will you do?" Lu Nuyen curled her lips slightly. Her hand fiddled with the ring on her ring finger. Maybe it's just an illusion, but I always feel her eyes are resting on me. It's been 7 years. I only clearly remember 2,656 days of that pain. He must pay the price 10,000 times more. The heating system in the room was turned on very high, but I suddenly used my voice to say, "Why do netizens always remind me that if I'm not a guy, I shouldn't dream of picking up a wife on the street?" Knowing this early on, that year I should have brought Lu Nuyen, the girl who was lost on the street, to the police station, not because of her beauty, and confusedly brought her home. The reporter also sensed the tense atmosphere, quickly laughed. Mr. Lu really knows how to joke, then quickly changed the subject. Did Lu Nuyen recognize me? After the interview, I thought to myself, the Zhou family and the Lu family are close friends in the entertainment industry. Chu Then and Lu Nuyen have been engaged since childhood. Lu Nuyen is famous in the world as a cold and unapproachable person. While living with me, she was so cold that she felt like she could shave her head and become a monk at any moment. There was once a male star who just sat next to her at a party and tried to take the opportunity to flirt, but the next day he was secretly murdered. However, she was spotted many times appearing with Chu Then not long ago. The cheap iron ring that Lu Nuyen always wears on her ring finger suddenly caused a fever on the internet. The whole social network is speculating about who the guy behind that ring is. Chu then quickly posted a similar old bracelet on Weibo, immediately went to the top of the search, and made paper on the wave that pushed the boat. But that ring is exactly like the reward I once won playing a roadside game. Because the design was so ugly, I conveniently gave it to Lu Nu-yin as a gift. She always carries it with her, perhaps to remind herself not to forget her past humiliation. It's been 7 years. Is there any hatred that can't be erased? But I thought that the past had passed, so I dared to return to my country. Unexpectedly, Lu Nu-yin still holds a grudge. Until now, after leaving the engine, not far away, I heard Lu Nu-yin's voice ringing behind me. Dear boss, in front of so many colleagues bustling about, I had to stop and try to make my voice as deep and rough as possible. Lu Nu-yin approached me. Curious eyes turned towards us from all directions. I heard Tu Lai say he studied for a master's or doctorate abroad and just returned to work last month. Is there anything you need to see me about, President Lu? I just want to end the conversation as quickly as possible. The reporter tried to welcome him to our company. Hope to have a happy cooperation in the future. Lu Nu-yin held out his hand. I was just about to raise my hand to shake when I suddenly remembered the scar on my wrist. Even though Lu Nu-yin couldn't see it, she definitely knew the scar existed. I took a step back, hid my hand behind my back, and quickly thought of an excuse. Sorry, Mr. Lu. My hand is injured. I just applied the medicine and it hasn't dried yet. Lu Nu-yin's delicate eyebrows frowned slightly. The reporter tried. Are you afraid of me? There's no such thing. Mr. Lu is very gentle. I'm not approachable, but I try to be comfortable and laugh a few times. But my heart was really racing. 7 years ago, I could not have imagined that this beautiful, doll-like, soft and docile blind girl could become so majestic that people dare not look straight like she is now. Or is the way of calling a reporter too distant? Is calling him darling more familiar? Lu Nu-yin lowered her voice. Her long, narrow eyes stared at me like a lone wolf that had been waiting for a long time, finally aiming at its prey, her eyes flashing blue. Hearing this, I felt all the blood in my body freeze. It took a while for me to regain my voice. I'm a few years older than Mr. Lu. If Mr. Lu doesn't mind, I can call him brother. I asked permission to go first. My girlfriend was waiting for me to come home and cook. People say that when you go out, your identity is created by you. I tried to stabilize my mood, tried to show my seriousness. My smile and intonation were perfect, but I forgot to hide my original voice. When I realized this problem, Lu Nu-yin's deep eyes gradually became dark and unpredictable, as if they could see through other people's hearts. Her originally cold voice had gained a bit of femininity and pressure over time as she leaned forward slightly, her hormones radiating out, making it impossible to avoid. The saying is not funny. Am I happy, Mr. Lu? I didn't understand what she was saying. In just a few seconds, I quickly made a plan to escape, but just as I was about to walk away, hypoglycemia struck at the last second before falling. Someone caught me. The light in front of my eyes flickered and brightened. I saw a sharp face. Lean away, honey. Her voice trembled slightly. Do you really not want me to touch you that much? Obviously, he wasn't like that before. Her hand stopped in midair. His voice was low and mixed with a bit of warmth that was hard to describe. I'm a little confused. Didn't she say she wanted me to experience 10,000 times more pain? So what do you do now? Is it coddling, or is this a new type of mental torture? I understand. The sentence, "you weren't like this before," sounds like a complaint, but it's actually a hidden reminder, a blame for what I did to her before. Xiangren certainly has good acting skills, a quick mind, and even curses at people so delicately that it sounds pleasant. If I wasn't sensitive enough, I almost thought Yin was sad because I was far away from Lu like Yin. She recognized me. She had never seen me before, so why did she immediately recognize me as soon as we met? I used to think that after returning home with Lu's cruel personality like Yin, maybe one day she would recognize me, but I never thought that at the first meeting I would be exposed. Anyway, I can't hide it anymore. Even if I die, I have to die clearly. There are many voices like mine. Scarred wrists are not uncommon. Plus 7 years is enough to blur a person's memories. I don't believe she just ignored the suspicion process and recognized me right away based on those things. She looked straight into my eyes and gently said, "If every day you think about a person, miss him day and night for 7 long years, and even have that person in your dreams, then one day, when that person actually stands in front of you, can you not recognize him?" Lu Nu-yin looked at me without blinking. her black pupils without any impurities. The eyes were obviously cold, but at this moment they were filled with emotions. Her eye sockets were red as if she had just cried, making people feel sad, completely different from the cold, forbidding image in the media. On the contrary, she looked like a beautiful little dog caught in the rain, longing to be hugged by her owner. Now I understand what the nurse meant when she said she looked like she was about to crumble, but I'm still not sure of Nu Yin's real intention. My mind was a mess. In the end, I just bowed my head and focused on eating. At first, I was worried about whether Nu Yin had put anything in the food. With her power and tricks, I absolutely do not doubt that possibility. When it was time for Tong Jing's grandson to get married, I was still floating in the river, but after eating a few bites, I couldn't stop anymore. One breath swept away all the food on the table. 7 years of studying abroad. Every day there was only bread and potatoes, and schoolwork was plentiful. The moment my tongue touched the sweet and sour fried ribs, I almost burst into tears. After eating the last grain of rice, I choked. I quickly grabbed the cup of water on the table and took 3 large gulps. It wasn't until I put the cup down that I realized this was Lu Yin's cup. Furthermore, the mouth of the cup was covered in grease. "Give it to me too," she said casually. Nu Yin has always had clean eggs and absolutely hates sharing things with others, especially the opposite sex. Looks like I've offended someone again. Sorry, I didn't mean it. At first I was about to say I would give her another one, but when I saw the brand of the cup, I quietly shut my mouth. My eyes moved from the water stain on the rim of the cup to Nu Yin's face, finally stopping at those red lips, suddenly remembering her actions before I fainted. A question suddenly appeared in my mind. "That's right, Nu Yin, did you finally kiss me?" The 2 words came to my mouth, but I couldn't say them. My face turned red as if I wanted to explode. I just wanted to bury my head in the pillow and hide. For the first time in my life, I felt that if Lu and Yin were still alive. Her WeChat was pinned to the top of the list as soon as a 5 million transfer message popped up. The doctor said he had been malnourished for a long time. "From today, I will eat 3 meals a day with you. Employees don't have the right to refuse their boss's unreasonable requests, right?" I seriously objected. Nu Yin slowly added, "After each meal, you will receive 5 to 7 million. Hearing that, my eyes lit up. I forced out the sweetest smile of my life, grabbed her arm and gently shook her. Lu quietly looked at me without saying a word. "It's over." In that moment I forgot she was Nu Yin, not the blind girl from before. A feeling of insecurity suddenly arose in my heart. Just as she was about to let go, she suddenly spoke. "Ko Gon, are you so handsome?" Nu Yin still didn't take his eyes off me, and continued softly, "Sorry, just now my brain was hungry, so I spoke a bit thoughtlessly. After thinking about it, I want to say that you are really handsome. People are really jealous of people who were able to see you before." My heartbeat suddenly skipped a beat, echoing uncontrollably. To avoid men with money becoming spoiled, let's take an intermediate number, 6 million per meal. Nu Yin left this sentence and then strode out of the hospital. I slapped my hot face, redder than a monkey's, but warning myself absolutely not to fall in love with Lu Yin. Very cunning. Maybe she is following the path of revenge to make me love her and then cruelly kick my ass. Always be alert. Don't fall into the enemy's trap. If she wants to act, I will act with her. As long as it doesn't cause trouble for me and Tong Kin at work, everything else can be agreed upon. After being discharged from the hospital, both Lu and Yin and I were very busy. The only chance to meet is to eat together in the general director's office. But this became my biggest headache. The company already had too many nosy people, especially after the phone call incident that day. The looks my colleagues gave me were no longer the same as before. Any small move can become a topic of discussion. One time, while everyone was out for lunch, I tried to sneak into the office to find Lu and Yin. Who would have thought that he would bump into Tong Kin right at the corner of the hallway? "Ko Gon, where are you going?" "I'm going to the bathroom," I accidentally said. Tong Kin glanced at the general director's office nearby, slowly smiling cunningly. "You're just trying to flatter, but by the way, convince General Lu to cancel this week's overtime. She's a superhero who doesn't get tired, but we're ordinary people. We're about to die of fatigue. By the way, help me praise her a few more words." Luckily, Tong Kin still didn't know that the blind girl that year was Nu Yin. Otherwise, don't talk about asking me to praise you. Maybe he would have pulled me out of my job and gone back to my hometown by now. Tonkin blinked mysteriously, leaned close to my ear, and whispered, Mr. Liu is a high-quality goddess. So there are countless men out there who are coveting it. A good opportunity is presented before you. If you don't take it, I'll laugh in your face. Oh, that's right. I almost forgot. From childhood until adulthood, other than that blind girl, he had almost never had contact with girls. Okay, I'm not busy anymore. I'll be your advisor today. After sending this ancestor away, I quickly sneaked into Lu's office like Yin. She was heating food in the microwave, wearing an expensive business suit, but wearing a cartoon apron of Pig B. Dad looked extremely funny. Kogan, is it illegal for you to send text messages? I opened WeChat and saw the red notification number, nearly 100 messages, all of which were from Lu and Yin. As the saying goes, the food is cold. Why haven't you come to eat yet? Transfer 6 million. Proverb, what have I done to make you unhappy? Answer me, don't ignore me. Is it because you didn't show me what I wanted that day at the hospital? Don't consider a ring worth just a few cents as a treasure. Don't plaster all the buses and taxis in the city just begging that person to come back. Their mouth says that that person wants to make them pay the price all their life. But what happens when they just appear? Using edicts, throwing money, all kinds of useless tricks were tried. I really regret that I once praised you in front of my friends, saying that you were the most rational person I've ever met. Wait, is Chu God talking about me? Lu like Yin, thick and boring. Well, I probably won't be able to cooperate with you anymore after this. I will find someone more suitable for you. No need for Zhou Shan to stand up. I'm about to announce to the media that I like men, and if I lose my fans, I'm lost. At best, he would leave the entertainment industry and go home to inherit his family's fortune. The most important thing is to stay true to yourself instead of guessing. I'd rather have the courage to admit it, is what you said, right? The guy hiding under the table suddenly had his name called. I forgot that there was a tabletop above. Excited, raised his head. However, there were no painful touches because Lu like Yin used his hands as a buffer between me and the tabletop. I timidly stuck my head out. At this time, Chu then walked to the door, muttering something inaudible. Kogan, what did you want to tell me just now? Lu knew Yin used 2 fingers to pick up the bank card I gave her and calmly asked if there was 1 billion in there to pay the breakup fee. I stood up and moved my numb legs. Hearing that, Nguyen trembled and asked again, So you agreed to have dinner with me just to gather enough money to leave me? I nodded then shook my head again. Lu Nguyen leaned one hand on the table. The distance between me and her became closer and closer. The force of support makes the shirt hug tightly, revealing her beautiful curves, the corners of her lips curling up, and her 2 faint dimples. I give you another chance, break up or not. What Chu said is true. Why is the distance so close? I don't dare look straight into Lu's eyes like Yin. She softly replied that it was true. Proverb, I like you, but I'm afraid you're just taking revenge. I'm afraid that all the gentleness is just a pretense. I'm also afraid that I'll fall in so deep that I won't be able to get out. So I hastily leave you, right? Lu Nguyen smiled bitterly, lazily resting her chin on my shoulder. Proverb, do you know, love can't be faked? Have you still refused to believe me for so long? Having said something that hurt my heart, I became even more unnatural and said nonsense. I don't like you. So can you explain why you saved all those private photos I sent you? Still sorting through all the notes. Photos seen in the morning, photos seen at midnight. My face turned red and I couldn't believe it. Lu Nguyen, did you search my album? Yesterday after eating, I forgot to log out of the app. I accidentally saw it. I was confused. She said she liked me, but when she was still a blind girl, why did she always avoid me? Lu Nguyen laughed softly, a low laugh ringing in his ears. As the saying goes, at that time I had just turned 16. Of course I would be a little shy. Moreover, at that time I was angry because I thought you just wanted to take over my body and didn't really like me. Maybe if Lu Yin had eyes that year, I would have been able to see the intense love hidden behind her eyes. But if Yin had those eyes, I probably wouldn't have had the chance to touch her world in my entire life. It's true that fate is sometimes magical. That year, Lu Nguyen was 16 years old, as shy as a little white rabbit. Now she is 23 years old, completely transformed into a genuine spermatoseal. I slowly thought back and asked Lu Nguyen, did you purposely ask Chu then to come at dinner time so that I could hear the conversation between the two of you, right? The female elf calmly admitted that if she didn't do that, how could she dispel the doubts in his heart? Old saying, I admit I wanted to take revenge on you, but when I saw you fainting in front of me with low blood sugar, I realized I basically couldn't hurt you. Let him misunderstand and worry all the time. The voices shouted in unison. Commander husband, quickly go home with her. The person who shouted the loudest was Tonkan. Turns out they hadn't left yet, but were still lurking outside the door eavesdropping. The corner of Lu Nu Yin's lips curled slightly, gently turning the ring on her ring finger. When I get home, I want to eat fruit. Before Lu Nu Yin even took off her coat, she opened the refrigerator, took out a box of cherries, and went into the bathroom to wash them. Taking that opportunity, I secretly opened the black bag she carried from the supermarket downstairs. When I saw clearly what was inside, I immediately jumped up and tried to run out. As soon as he touched the door handle, a familiar voice rang out from behind. Old saying, where are you going? Go out and get some fresh air. Come back later. Lu Nu Yin glanced at the bag on the table, clearly having been touched. As soon as I opened the door, she quickly came over, gently closed the door, then leaned her back against the door frame, lazily saying, Darling, lying is not good. In front of me, Lu Nu Yin slowly smiled. Her eyes quickly turned red. I abandoned you for years. Now you want to abandon me again? I frantically explained, it's not like that. Women's tears are men's strongest stimulant. As soon as Lu Nu Yin shed tears, I immediately felt like the whole world was indebted to her. So I was pulled into the bedroom by her. Darling, you know, when you can't see anything, your other senses are much more sensitive than usual. So every time you tease me, you're testing my limits. Just when I felt a little pity, I suddenly discovered that Lu Nu Yin was using a tie to cover my eyes. Her voice was soft, but didn't allow for resistance. Dear, if you're not good, you have to compensate me for years, 3 times L, and you can't be short. A pair of soft lips pressed down, the air in his chest gradually depleted. Outside, the rain fell lightly. The flower buds moved gently in the wind. Then the rain suddenly became torrential, pouring down like a waterfall. Birds flapped their wings in panic, rushing into the clouds until dawn appeared. Habu Tu Khan, Test Not Lan, Fin Fong, and the love of the immortal flower of the moon, wind dragon in all things. Why not miss her again? Listen to the wind blowing all around, hundreds of flowers blooming, love as strong as a flying dragon.